Hey, hello everybody. I'm Philip Johnson. I'm a patient coordinator here at Sponaugle Wellness, and today is one of those great opportunities that we have to talk to our patients. It's a wonderful day and a sad day because it's wonderful that you've had a great improvement, and so you're leaving our facility today, but it's sad because, well, with you folks especially, it's just been a pleasure. And we've got some awesome memories, and we'll talk about that.
We feel the same way.
It's been a wonderful time. So for those of you that are going to be watching this video clip, we love to tell the stories, what take place here, and so glad that these folks are willing to share this with you because as a patient coordinator, I've talked to some of you, I probably will talk to some of you, and I know one of the things that you have to overcome is believing you can get better. You've been disappointed, you've been discouraged, maybe you've seen a host of doctors and some things worked, some things didn't, and you're wondering, you know, are we different? Can I get better? And believe me, I've been in that place and had my own battle with Lyme and all the ugly things that go with it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to introduce these folks, and we're going to get right into their story. This is Gregory Hollis. Did I tell you that you and I have the same name? No. My middle name is Gregory.
Oh, cool.
And it never really, you gave me a card, and I saw the sign of Gregory, and it dawned on me that you and I had the same name, so possibly. I think that means, let me see, does it mean pastor? Have you ever looked that up? I think it means shepherd or pastor, something like that.
I would think it meant handsome.
We have our comedian with us today. It does mean handsome. How can you stop us? You and I have these handsome faces. And you are incredibly handsome. And this is Gregory Hollis. This is his wonderful mother, Connie. Aunt Becky's sitting back there. We're going to have to get a picture of her in just a minute. And Miss Connie, you folks are from Texas, and we love Texas folks. We get a lot of Texas folks out here, and strong, rugged, you know, courageous people. And you've demonstrated that. This whole family has demonstrated that through this whole thing. What happened? Well, I mean, what took place?
Greg was working on in the oil fields on a tank, and he was sandblasting. He fell 40 feet, had a closed head injury, and several internal injuries. He spent a month in a coma, and his muscles all contracted, and we've had 20 surgeries over the past 4 years. He's been in a rehab facility up until last June. Came home June 29th. We moved into our house on July the 4th. And so he's been doing, since being home, he's had physical therapy 5 days a week. He's had speech. We've done hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We've had 60 or 80 treatments of that. And each time he's gotten better, his physical therapy is kind of where we were before we came here was kind of plateaued.
Plateaued out, okay.
And we've just been looking for other options, and you know, just to give Gregory a better quality of life.
So, I would imagine in the medical field that at some point they probably said improvement has come to an end. It is what it is.
Correct.
That kind of a situation.
Yeah. Several times we've been told that Greg would not be able to use his legs. They talked about amputating one leg. And
What?
And then when
I wouldn't give those things up.
No. And then when they got to looking at how far it would be that he would lose his whole leg.
Okay.
And so we had a failed hip replacement, and we almost lost him that night. And so for several months we didn't have a hip. And so the doctor came in, they called in an oncologist because we had bone growth that was so mass.
Okay.
And everybody says that everyone's blood vessels grow around that.
Okay.
Greg's grew through that. So every time they cut to kind of shake that up, he lost blood that night.
Something.
Yeah. So they brought in this oncologist, and he's the one that told us that Greg would never use his leg, that he would have a dead leg.
Okay.
We are walking now, and we are going to walk into that doctor's office one day and let him know exactly how far Greg can walk. But we've been here nine weeks, and Greg has been in physical therapy while we're doing the treatments here. He is walking, he's standing on his own, he's getting in and out of the car on his own. Becky and I were talking to the next door neighbors the other night, and they're 80 years old, and bless their hearts, Greg scares them to death, I think, sometimes. But Mr. Brown goes, ladies, Greg's getting out of the car. And we turned around, and he was holding on to the door already out of the car. So, you know.
So these are things you weren't doing before.
No, not at all.
Sir.
All right. Was attracted to our website from the brain trauma side of it, and of course we had Bernie Kosar on there, and some wonderful things that he had gone through, and so I imagine that was the part that triggered that there might be hope here, a chance and an opportunity.
I was doing research on the computer, and as always, I sit down at my computer and I say a prayer and hope that I can find other treatment. And I was on some website, and all of a sudden on the corner of my computer came this thing that said something about Bernie Kosar, and I thought, you know, he played football, I wonder what he's up to lately, you know. And so I clicked on the story, and I read it, and then I clicked on Dr. Sponaugle's name, and it pulled up y'all's website.
All right.
I'm looking at the website, and I'm bawling, going, this is where we need to be. Becky and Greg came in from physical therapy that day, and I said, Becky, this is it. This is it. I know they can help us. And she goes, call them. And I said, well, I sent them an email. She goes, call them.
So when you came in here, first you're missing something already in this picture, because when you came in you had some sort of a tray, something attached here.
I'm in a whole different wheelchair.
Yeah, we borrowed y'all's wheelchair.
Yeah, you don't have your wheelchair on there today, and you and I talked. This is important. I think this is an important part of the story, Miss Connie, is that, of course, you sent in, and sometimes we do this. I had you send in the medical records because this was a brain trauma, and we wanted to look, and the brain expertise of our doctors is something that just still amazing. Every time I want to hear everything they say, because they understand that brain and brain chemistry so much. And back then I was even training, and was part of that original consult that he just had with the notes that you provided for me, and we sat down and looked at them together. And I remember him talking, Dr. Sponaugle talking, saying there are certain parts of the brain that we can really help, and we can increase activity, and we're going to do this with all natural. We're going to use our natural healing drips and supplements, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to figure this out, and how's this going to work?
Right.
And so you coming in was something I wanted to pay extra attention to, because for me as a patient coordinator, you were the first brain trauma that I was going to firsthand see come in here. Here's what I wanted to say, is that for us, there was a lot of these wonderful moments. Our Leanna would holler at me and say, Pastor, you need to come in here and see what's going on. And we'd come running in, and of course all of you would be there, and you would demonstrate another breakthrough. And whether it was memory was one of the first things we began to. So tell us about the memory. What happened here?
Do you remember?
Yeah.
What you were
I recall something that happened on the TV I saw the day before.
So you were watching TV shows.
Yes, sir.
And if I understand it, you originally, you would not be able to remember from one episode to another. So to you, it was always a brand new take. But I think it was the fourth day, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. It
Fourth
was.
day, we started with our detoxification drips, which for those of you watching, you know, they're going to do several things. We're upregulating the immune system, but they're going to immediately start pulling toxins out. We start optimizing all of the body, every cell, organ, the brain. And so with just 4 days, we came in and we were all just so excited that your memory was just kicking in.
Oh, it was awesome.
We had another breakthrough where they said, come in here and watch. And you picked up a glass of water.
Yes, sir.
And prior to that, you had used a straw probably, or help.
Yes, he used a cup with a lid on it and a
Okay.
straw. And he, you know, that was it. His spasticity was so bad. And within the first 4 days, that spasticity had cleared up.
Okay.
His brain.
So the spasticity is involuntary,
Right.
you know, movement,
Right.
convulsions or whatever
Right.
going on. Right. That was that was
Yeah.
back on the memory thing.
Yeah.
That you had just kind of settled down. You weren't just involuntarily moving.
No, his heart rate, remember, his heart rate was like 117.
Yeah.
And before we could start the drips, that had to be downsized,
Yep.
you know, down. And so medication brought that down, and it was like 80, and now it's like 68 or
Wonderful.
70, and it's great. And he's able to sit in the chair without wiggling so
Mhm.
much. And so that was the first 4 days, and after that, it's just continued.
It's not a cookie cutter approach here. I mean, we build our drips here every morning. Everything is uniquely designed on what our proprietary testing, first of all, what our proprietary testing has shown, and then our day-to-day. You know, there's always an involvement. You see one of our nurses every day. You were assigned to a particular nurse, and who was that?
Dennis.
Dennis. So we want to certainly praise Dennis for his work and his involvement in here, because he's watching the day-to-day numbers and helping with brain chemistry, and of course, in your doctor in this was
Dr. Crozier.
Dr. Crozier. Dr. Crozier was overseeing your medical care, and so it's important for everybody to understand that when a patient comes in here, we literally tailor, you know, the treatment to what we're trying to do. What did we discover? You knew you had a brain trauma, but
Right.
what else did we discover?
Mold
Mold, okay.
and Lyme
Lyme.
and Bartonella.
And Bartonella, okay, Bartonella,
And
yeah.
so the mold gene he can't get rid of.
All right.
And so those were added extras that we didn't know we had, you know. And so when we got here, it was like that was news to us, but it was good news because with the way Dr. Crozier explained it was, you know, these drips are going to be pulling out the toxins, we're going to get rid of that. And actually Greg started killing on his own after like the first drip. And so
And for folks that, when we use this word killing,
sorry,
Okay.
yes, killing.
a couple of things we need to comment on here. When we
Yeah.
use the word killing, we're talking about killing bugs.
Right.
And we do have drips especially designed to do that, but sometimes, and Greg was probably the perfect example of this, just from the beginning of our health drips, our healing IV drips, we're optimizing, you know, the immune system. We're getting the immune system running.
Right.
And when we start doing that, many people, their own killer cells get activated and start tackling these bug
Right.
problems, and so they move into a kill a little early sometimes. We do forensic healing here.
Right.
We literally we create that biochemical blueprint of you. I tell everybody you're going to find out more about yourself here than you have
Right.
going to 20 other doctors.
Right.
And we put all those together. It's like saying, when you see a Dr. Sponaugle, Dr. Crozier, our nurses together, it's like seeing 10 specialists at one time. They're able to connect the dots, to see the bigger picture, and know that so many of these inner workings of our body, how they're so deeply connected to each other, and that this part of your body can't be healthy unless this is working correctly.
That's
and the mold gene that we spoke about, 1 in 4 Americans are going to have, or 1 in 4 people are going to have this. And for those people, they do not detox on their own. They can't get rid of these environmental poisonings. And for them, it's very, very important to discover this, because it can lead to some huge health issues in their life. And not only do we discover that, not only are we able to get out those environmental poisonings or mold, but we have a follow-up. You know, we have very special supplements that you can take that, again, all healthy, natural, and they will keep your body pulling these toxins out, so in case you are re-exposed. We find out with many patients that it could have been the mold, but these things happen to them. The Lyme, the mold, the toxic gut issue, you know, is a big issue, and it drives cravings. These toxins do things, and they can cause your brain to become over-electrified, and you can't calm that brain down, and because of it, you have a host of symptoms, and so people often, not understanding any of this, may turn to drugs or alcohol to try to calm the brain down, not understanding where it's coming from. It could be a gut issue that's causing all of that. And so
that's right. Greg has the toxic gut, and it was from, we've had 20 surgeries, so we've been on antibiotics. When he was little, we had ear problems. He was on antibiotics every 10 days, you know, plus because his brain was overactive, he did have alcohol and drug problems.
Okay.
So all of that is still, you know, was still there, causing all this. We had no idea.
99% probably of our patients are going to have a gut issue, and especially those that have been treated for Lyme. The traditional method is going to be antibiotic use, and we know, and our patients have proven, that antibiotic use alone will never get rid of the Lyme, and once it's developed and that nasty biofilm's in place. So all these things are taken into consideration. So I was there when you drank that glass of water. We talked about you having pizza and picking up that piece of pizza on your own. And let's talk about the hand issue, because I remember that tray. I remember your hands were always just gripping that tray. So what was going on here?
Because of the muscle contractions, his hands had, from the accident, his hands had drawn up, and he'd keep them like this. And he'd always hold them on the tray to try to get them to stay open.
Okay.
And so that was his way of doing that. And was it last weekend? Weekend before last?
I believe so.
He said, "Mom, look at my hands." And all of a sudden, look at that. They're open. He can use them. Each finger is bending, and that is contributed to the drips and to the supplements that were taken. I just all of a sudden. I feel like that y'all have given me my son back. In my wildest dreams, Pastor, I never dreamed. I didn't know what I was getting when I came. I said, I'm taking that step of faith, and I'm going to do this. Yes, the brain is wired and everything, it has to do with everything. But the little bit of mold and Lyme that he had and the biofilm, and it was just, once that started clearing out, he got clearer. He's you know, able to recall things. We've laughed and carried on and just like old times. But the thing is, he wasn't like this before we got here.
Okay.
He was able to do nothing. It took Becky and I to get him out of the car. It took us to get him into bed. We cut his pizza up and he used a fork that was made for him.
Okay.
We're not doing that now. He's using a regular fork, drinking out of a regular cup.
Wonderful.
And because of this, he is getting better and he is thinking clearer. He said to me the other day, Mom, my brain feels clear. I haven't heard that from him at all. He's taken the Celgevity. He says feels like his eyes are getting better. He
Wonderful.
can see, you know, so it works. And
Well, this is important because when I talked to you about coming down here, you and I had this heart-to-heart talk, and it was based upon, in order for you to come here, you need to, and I don't have this conversation with everyone, but this was a brain trauma situation. And at that time, we didn't even know about bugs and mold, that he may
Right.
have any of that.
right,
So our conversation was, we tried to establish an expectation level. So if it was only 10% improvement,
right,
you said, if it's only 10% improvement, we'll be glad to do it.
right.
And I remember you and I standing in the hallway, maybe the second week you were here, and I said, Miss Connie, I think we've already had our 10%. What do you want to do?
I said, I'm staying.
And you said, we're going to go for some more. That's right, we're
I'm
staying. And I'm so glad that you did.
And you know, you said earlier, it's bittersweet. Greg had told me this morning, he said, I don't want to leave. I'm going to let you and Aunt Becky go home, and I'm staying. And Greg is more than 10%, and we're coming back. We're leaving today, but we're coming back in 3 months to build on that
All right.
and continue physical therapy at home. And Dr. Sponaugle gave us some ideas about exercise in the pool the other day, and so we're going to do that. And when we come back, Greg, how are you going to be coming in?
I'm gonna be walking.
Walking in.
You won't recognize me.
You experienced a very tragic accident and certainly set you back. And I'm glad we're seeing some improvement. You know, this story's not over. That's the exciting
That's
thing.
it.
The story's not over.
Chapter 1.
There's plenty of hope here, plenty of opportunities, and we want to go as far as we can. And not only your health, building some of these cool memories. We went fishing together.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that video, and of course your hands hadn't really opened up then.
Right.
And but yet you caught more fish than anybody that night.
Yes, he did.
Within the first, I mean,
Minute
I
or
was still
two.
trying to set up holes, and you were reeling in your first fish. And
That's right. And he couldn't do that before we got here. Because that was his thing. Mom, I want to go fishing. He loved to fish. So, you know, the fact that he was able to do that and you gave us that opportunity, he started seeing then it's working.
it's
And he's tangled himself all up. Look at that. That's a good size.
That is an awesome size
Look
shark,
at that,
Greg.
Greg.
Look at that.
Oh, here, you hold that.
It's like,
Look
get
at
it away
that.
from me.
Look at that. Get his teeth.
Big shark, Greg.
Yeah, that's a good.
You know, Greg has been, he's able to sit and focus on a movie, which he couldn't do.
Couldn't do it before.
Basketball game. We went to dinner with some friends the other night, and he carried on a conversation with with all of us, but the guy for sure. And it was just something that I didn't know that I would ever see again.
Didn't expect it. Certainly your conversation, your speech is all improved, and you are the main man, brother.
What would you like?
I would like to say this staff and place has helped me tremendously. I have improved so much, and I can't wait to come back in 3 months.
Miss Becky, come up here and sit down and take my seat. I just at least want to get you in the video here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to step out of the way, and you'll still hear my voice, but incredible lady that's been here and just helped out with everything with this family. And Greg gives her a hard time all the time, joking with her, but I know he loves her dearly. And I would take her fishing with me anytime I could, because she's a handy mate on that boat. She can bait, and she can cut bait, and she can pull fish off the line. And just part of the story, just such a big part of the
Do
story.
you know, I couldn't do it without her. I couldn't. I don't want to, you know. She's there for Greg. She's there for me. She's a hard-working person. And, you know, she's my sister-in-law, but we're so more than that, you know. And she does wonders with Greg. You know, you have children, you know that sometimes they don't want to listen to mom and dad,
Right.
no matter how old they are. Well, Aunt Becky can tell him the same thing I do, and he'll listen. But she's the one that pushes and drives him,
Yeah.
and it's just there for support for me, and we love her to death, and couldn't do it without her.
I love y'all too.
Hey, Gregory, just real quick, because I understand you had problems lifting up your legs.
Yes.
So I'm going to pull this camera down. You couldn't lift up your feet or legs. So let's see what you can do down there with them legs. Look at that. All right. That's great improvement. You're going to be working on the muscle tone this summer and building up them leg muscles, because they haven't moved in so long.
Right.
And
Yes, sir.